Hi guys, Robert Optimal Bodies. Put a post up last night asking if any burning questions that want to be asked, and if there were enough I was going to do another question and answer video, and there were quite a few, so thanks a lot for those. So I've written them down and I'll try and answer each one individually. Most of them were pretty good. I answered a couple on there about creatine and what to do if you go off the wagon for a while, because they were just pretty simple answers to be able to answer then, so I'm not going to go into detail in the video, but I've done that in there. Just a quick shout out to my sponsors, Damn Fitness, sponsor myself and my company, DAYM, damnfitness.com, so it's a good gym clothing company, check them out, quote Rob10 for 10% off. Okay, so we'll get into the questions. First one that caught my eye was how much fibre they should be having. So if you're on this is for people particularly on a high fat, low carbohydrate diet. So once a week they're having a big refeed, but most of the time they're on fat, protein, and vegetables are a really good one to keep your fullness. So that's where the fibre comes into it. And you'll see a lot of products. So if you buy something, it'll say carbohydrates in the macronutrient profile, and it'll say of which sugars, and it'll say of which fibre. Now the fibre, it's quite misleading. You can say carbohydrates and it can say perhaps 10 gram of fibre, and you think, oh, it's got 10 gram of carbs in. Fibre, once it's into your small intestine, once you digest it, it actually gets released as fatty acids. So it gets released as fat. You don't have to count it towards your fat content. I don't anyway. I think that's a bit too particular, but you don't count it towards your carbohydrates. It's not a usable carbohydrate. So some things actually say usable carbs, but not often others do. So most vegetables you're going to be fine with, and I say just have as much as you like, just to keep your fullness. You're going to get added vitamins and minerals from there. You're going to get fibre, so it's good for digestion. It's good for slowing it down and speeding it up, depending if you might get constipated, you might get diarrhea. So you have to Google it, pick the type that gives you the different sort of fibre response, whether it speeds up or slows down digestion. So yeah, have as much as you want. Go for leafy green veg if you want to be safe. Avoid butternut squash, parsnips and too much sweet corn, as they can be quite high sugary vegetables. Any others you're probably going to be safe with, but just check first. So good question, thank you. And you're getting the vitamins and minerals and the antioxidants that a fruit would provide without the added sugar, so it's a winner. Okay, when you're having a refeed of carbohydrates coming from a high fat diet most of the time, what do you do with the fat in the refeed? Now, to be really safe, I'd say stick to mostly carb-based foods. Avoid ones that have high fat and carbs, because that is the perfect storm, perfect scenario, perfect recipe to store body fat. You need carbs and fat together to form triglycerides, which are what are in your fat cells. So if you're only eating carbs, you're rate limited in how much you can store as fat. If you're eating fat, carbs and fat together, you're providing the raw materials to store body fat, potentially. That's just something you could tweak if you're not getting results. I personally don't even count my fat content in my refeeds, but it could be something you could look into, and it is understandable that you could store body fat if you have too much fat and carbs. So to be safe, just have carb-based foods mainly, but don't worry about it too much. Because if you've gone low carb all week, you downregulate fatty acid synthase, which is the enzyme which converts the carbs to fat. So if you're only eating carbs, you can pretty much hammer them. After about 4 hours, the enzyme gets turned back on. So that's when it could be possibly stored as fat, but that's why these diets work. After all that week, 4 or 5 days, that enzyme becomes downregulated and your body's really rubbish at storing carbs as fat. So that's why the refeeds work. Protein shakes, do you need them? What's the benefits? I would say if you're trying to lose fat, but you resistance train, you do some sort of weight training or sprints, interval training, post-workout, so after you work out, yep, 1 or 2 scoops of protein. Fit it into your macronutrient profile, so still account for how much protein is in that shake. If you're having 100 gram of protein a day and you're getting 50 from the shake, count it. It does matter. Too much protein can spike insulin, so I won't have it any other time in the day, but insulin post-workout, that little spike you're going to get, is more beneficial for the recovery rather than worried about fat loss. So yeah, post-workout, I'd have a shake if you train, and yes, account for it as your nutrients. Other times of the day, if you can have real food, that's a lot better. So avoid shakes in the morning, that sort of thing, unless it's after training. Okay, and the last one, I posted about dark chocolate. It's a recent finding of mine, good friend of mine, Gareth Wagg, you won't mind me mentioning him. He told me to have it. I looked into it, I never thought chocolate, can't fit that into my diet. 90% dark chocolate. The whole bar, 100 gram bar, has only 7 grams of usable carbohydrates, and I have the whole bar at once. I break it off. I make my Angel Delight protein, so this is after my workout. So I mix a little bit of water with a casein protein. It goes really sludgy. Put it in the fridge for an hour. It goes like an Angel Delight. And then I break the chocolate off, scoop it off, or just put the bits in and spoon it up. It's beautiful. It tastes like a treat, and I'm still losing body fat by doing that. And then one of the questions was by a good friend of mine, how much can we have? Again, just fit it into your macronutrient profile. The whole bar is about 50 gram of fat, which for some people that might be half their daily intake. So as long as you account for it, you can have it. I account for it. A big lump of my fat comes from that chocolate, but as long as, don't just add it in. If you're going to add it in, you might have to take, say, like a block of cheese away to account for the fats and the protein. And it's 10 gram of protein per 100 gram, about 55 gram of fat per 100 grams. So just account for it. But yes, it's perfectly fine to have in your diet if you're on a low carb, high fat diet, and it's beautiful. Okay, thanks for your questions. Keep posting them, like and share my page if you want prices for my programs. I've got June discounts available for the 12 and 16 week plans. Thanks for everyone's support so far. The page is getting loads of likes, doing really well. Cheers, guys. Have a good day.